I'm Jennifer Nicely with Pinnacle Real Estate Academy. I wanted to talk to you today about fair housing. Now, fair housing is a hot topic these days, and a lot of people think that it's a pretty cut and dry situation, but reality is it goes a little bit deeper than what you may imagine. Now, there's a couple of terms out there, and one of them is called steering. Now, steering is guiding someone towards an area or away from an area based on a protected class. So what are our protected classes? Race, color, religion, sex, national origin, handicap, and familial status. Those are 7 protected classes. So let's talk about a couple of those. Race and color, technically the same. It was a loophole. The federal government had to close that loophole. Sex used to mean what you are, male or female, and now it has changed over to sexual orientation, transgender, what you are, how you were born, how you identify. It encompasses all of those. Another one is familial status. Familial status are families. Now, families do not mean 2 adults married. Doesn't matter, homosexual, or not, okay? But a family means someone with a child. So anyone under 18 would be considered a family, whether that's adopted, they're pregnant, the children are already here, foster kids, doesn't matter what it is, but families are people with children. Okay. Now, national origin makes sense, and handicap and disability should make sense. So anyone who is deemed to have a handicap or disability. Now, this can range between someone who is in a wheelchair to someone who is hard at seeing, or someone who has a learning disability, or someone who has a physical disability or a mental disability. So handicap and disability has a very, very wide range. So do not just limit this to what you can possibly visually see, but maybe things that you can't see. Now that we've covered the 7 protected classes, please know that those protected classes are the people are protected, not places. People are protected, not places. A couple of examples of places would be schools. Schools are not protected. That's not a specific protected class. Churches or places of worship or mosque, those places are not protected, but the people inside of them are. Okay? Now, when it comes to steering, guiding someone, think of a steering wheel, guiding someone towards an area or away from an area based on one of those protected classes. So it's really easy to understand when someone says, oh, I don't want to live in that neighborhood because there are so many blank race people, and that can work in any direction, right? So if you have someone who says, I don't want to live there because there's so many blank race people, everyone understands that's wrong. But what about if I have a Caucasian person that says, I want to be in a neighborhood with other Caucasian people? Is that a bad thing? Yes, it is. So even though you are understanding when you are against your own race, it's equally as wrong saying you want to be with your own race. Now, that one's a little easy to understand, but what about children? Remember, familial status covered families with children? What if I have a child and I want to move into a neighborhood because they have a lot of children in that neighborhood? Is that right or wrong? That's wrong when it comes to real estate agents guiding them towards areas that have a bunch of children in those communities. It's equally as wrong to say, I don't have kids, I don't want to be in a neighborhood with kids, don't sell me a house with a neighborhood full of kids. The only way around that is going into a 55 and older community. Those are the only exemptions when it comes to familial status. So you have to understand every protected class, it's wrong and illegal to go against a protected class, but it's also wrong and illegal to only go with your particular class. Now, I hope this makes sense because it gets a little convoluted, but here's the premises of it. Let's use religion as an example. I had a student who told me that he was working with a buyer, and this buyer was Muslim. And this Muslim buyer wanted to be within walking distance of a mosque, and he also wanted to live around other Muslim people. So this real estate agent called one of his Muslim friends and said, hey, I've got a buyer that's Muslim and they want to live with other Muslim people and around other Muslim people. Where do y'all live? And he thought he was doing the right thing because his Muslim buyer wanted to live with Muslim people, as if they live on the same block, right? That's not necessarily the case, but he thought he was doing the right thing by putting him there. The problem with this is you're discriminating against non-Muslims. So everyone understands that if I say, or my buyer says, I don't want to live around Muslim people, that's wrong. But if my Muslim buyer wants to live around Muslim people, that's equally wrong for I, as a real estate agent, to guide them in that direction, because now I'm discriminating against non-Muslims. There are so many facets to fair housing, and we're going to do this in several different parts. So this is just part one of fair housing. So stay tuned. We're going to get a little bit deeper because you could be doing things that could get you in trouble that you have no idea that could get you in trouble. So you're definitely going to want to watch part two.